Hey there, Christopher McCore from Wholeness Geeks, wholenessgeeks.com, and welcome to Meditation Happy Hour, where I share meditations, processes, practices, perspectives, both traditional and modern. And this happens typically on Friday. It's a little late today. Um, and Today, I want to share with you a practice where this I think this is called getting things done. And the reason I kind of dove into this aspect of life um, recently, just this week, was my wife was telling one of our friends that I am one of the most productive people she knows, and able to get things done, doing things, doing a master of doing, so to speak. And so I started thinking about, well, what is it that I do that helps me to do, right? Um, and these are the nine things that I came up with. Um, the first thing is prioritizing. Um, it's like the best example is you have a to-do list, but then you number the things, and and you number them according to a strategy. And the strategy is it's a box with quadrants, right? And so in the upper left, there's urgent and significant, right? And that's always going to be the first thing you're going to do, urgent and significant, right? Um, if there's nothing urgent, then you just do what's significant. But if it's urgent and it's significant, if there's a group of significant things, it's the urgent one that's going to get done first. Then up in the upper right, there is urgent. Um, there is significant, but not urgent, right? So, and then in the lower left, there's urgent, but not significant. Yeah, just to be clear, the upper right is significant but not urgent. The bottom left is urgent but not significant. And then in the bottom right is not significant and not urgent. So obviously, the upper right and the lower left are always, this will be the first and this will be the last thing that you do. These two, it's kind of a choice between those things. If you tend to be a proactive person and you believe that you should like give the most significant things your best energy, then you might, if you start your day, you might start off with significant and urgent, and then you might go over to significant, not urgent, before you go to urgent and not significant. But anyway, that's the that's sort of the guidelines for prioritizing, right? And so um, that it helps you to kind of move when you got a mass of things to do. It helps you to move through that mass just by using that criteria. Okay, the second point, second tip is blinders, right? So um, when you're doing a lot of things back to back, it's important that when you're doing a certain thing, you're just focused on that thing, and it's kind of like you put blinders on, because there can be leakage, spillover from the other things, and that's going to distract you, and you're not going to get that one thing done very well if you're allowing those distractions to come in. Um, I remember I had a friend, and we talked about this. This was decades ago. That because we both did we both were meditators, and we both did a number of different meditations, and we kind of we agreed that it was important that when you're doing a certain meditation, you're just doing that meditation and you're not kind of, mixing it in with other meditations. So you got blinders. Tip number 3 is what I call respite. So respite is basically that, well, Brendan Burchard, who's a life coach, talks about this, that, every hour that you work, you take 5 minutes of that hour and you have a respite, you have some downtime. Um, I do, I have this practice where um, I go into a third world squat, and I go in and I see the shapes inside of me, and I do this process where I loop the six-pointed star around the edges of the shapes. In what it essentially what I'm doing is um, I'm kind of combining what is with what could be. But in that process, I'm energizing myself and I'm integrating what I've just done. So whatever your respite is, if you just sit down, lie down on the floor and breathe, you know, basically you're energizing yourself um, and you're integrating what you've already done. So that's point number 3, respite. Point number 4 is notebook. I have a notebook. I keep a notebook. Um, I this is a 200-page notebook, and I go through one of these about every month, right? And so I I have a fairly elaborate system of keeping track of what it is I'm doing, what I want to do, and I it's all, and I index the notebook, right? I actually like write down page numbers and then make an index of those page numbers. So yes, I could not do what I do without a notebook. And as you get older, your memory uh, it be, gets is not getting better for sure. And so it's okay to write things down so that you remember what it is you need to do. That's point number 4. Point number 5 is system stacking. So I'm in the Enneagram typology. I'm a 5, which is those are the 5s are very into systems and frameworks. So of course I'm into uh, frameworks, and so frameworks. Well, they do a number of things. They help you to organize, right? So if you've got like a big kind of endeavor that you're trying to do, to create a framework helps to delineate the components of that and see how they relate to each other and create priorities, and timing regarding that endeavor. But it's a framework can also be a process, and those processes can be stacked on top of each other. It's like you develop a process and you get really good at that process, and then that process can become an element in a bigger process. So it's a way of staying organized, but also funneling energy, so that you're not scattered trying to figure out how things fit together. You've already, in a sense, done that. Um, and in a sense, you're building on your past efforts. You've already worked these things out, and then you can just, like use that framework to get things done in the present. That's point number 5. Point number 6 is that it's like our lives and what we do, they're journeys. There's a sense of in a way, there's like a string of nows, and 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 that string of nows can extend into infinity, into be eternal. So there's an approach that I've found to be helpful, which is that, we think, oh, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, whereas if you just like, oh, this is what I do, and I do this, and I do this, and I will always be doing this, and I will always be doing, and it kind of creates this flow that just you can relax into, because it's like it's an eternal flow. Um, it also brings into focus the need for, it's like often when we're doing, we can kind of get often, this happens often. It will happen if you're you're doing things and you're persistent, you will come up against drudgery. It's like, oh man, it's like, and it's important. I find that it's important at those times to just remind, just say, ask myself, oh, how can I have fun with this? And it just kind of like, you just take a different, uh, instead of like going like this, you just kind of start moving around it and be more creative, make it more fluid. Remind yourself to have fun. Enjoy it, because when we enjoy whatever it is we're doing, our vibration gets higher, and when our vibration is high, whatever it is that we're wanting, right, it comes to us easier when our vibration is high, when we're having fun, when we're enjoying. So it's point number 7. Point number 8 is it's how to be more strategic, and it's how to be more um, sort of a more aerial view on your life, so that, and what I the term I use is wholeness inspired life design, and the acronym is WILD, right? So in wholeness inspired life design, it's you've looked at what are the components of your wholeness, and you've created activities for moving forward in those various aspects of wholeness, and you've arranged those activities in cycles, whether it be in a daily cycle or a weekly cycle or a monthly cycle, but you come back to those activities repeatedly, and through that repeated activity, and you don't have to do it very much. You may only do it like 5 or 10 minutes a week, but the whole thing moves forward, and so there's this mass of your wholeness moving forward, and it's because you've strategically arranged your life so that you have various activities, and you're doing those in a certain kind of arrangement, and they actually um, they can influence each other. They can spill over into each other, and and create a sum that a whole that's greater than the sum of the parts. So that's point number 7. Point number 8 is that, along the same lines, is that with these activities, and especially if you only do an activity like 5 or 10 minutes a week, you only have to move one step further. Like one of the things I do, I'm a musician. I create music digitally, and nowadays I don't have a lot of time to do that. Very often it's only like a half hour, 45 minutes a week, and I've got about 8 songs that I'm working on. And when I don't have a lot of time, I'll just pull up that song. It's on a piece of software, Ableton Live, and and I'll just like go through the song and make one improvement, and that's it. Then I'll save it and I'll go on to the next song. And but when I do that, make it one improvement, then over a period of time, you come up with an album of music. Um, so one step forward can be enough. And then the last the last tip, which I've already really spoken about, is wholeness. That, if you look at your life about who you are and what you and all you can be, and you look at the aspect, you delineate it into aspects of your wholeness, and then you create activities that move those aspects forward, and you do those activities repeatedly, then you basically you've organized this thing that is, like, if it's not organized, it can just seem overwhelming. It seemed like, nothing that most of what you do, most of the different things you do are unrelated to each other. But when you looked at your wholeness, they are related. They're all under the same umbrella. Um, so it's based wholeness is basically a way of organizing everything. So that's it. Point number 9. And so this is Christopher McCore from Wholeness Geeks, and this has been Meditation Happy Hour. And I've been talking to you about tips for getting things done. And if you want to know more, you want to leave a comment, you want to make suggestions, you want to actually, share your own tips about something, you can do that at Wholeness Geeks Facebook group. So that's it for today. Thanks for listening and watching.